Welcome to episode 32 of Press YYZ, your favorite Canadian gaming podcast that has us on it. We record live every Wednesday night around 8 p.m. or so. We are also now affiliates on Prime Gaming, formerly known as Twitch Prime, so if you want to subscribe or give us a sub from your free subscription that comes with having Amazon Prime, we'd be forever grateful. Finally, follow us on Twitter, where you get updates on when we go live and post new episodes. FYI, we have a special show this weekend, Mitch Builds a Computer with Nathan and Alex. I'm your host for the evening, Nathan McInerney, and this week I'm joined by AJ, Captain Thumbnail. How are you doing, AJ?
I'm doing all right. I just want to say two things. One, very much better job on the intro this week, Nathan, and two, Wakanda forever.
Yes, excellent. Then we've got Alex, the documentarian.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's. Hi, everybody. I'm working on stuff. School's starting soon. Getting excited. Also terrified. Woo!
We got Cozy, the Platinum Hunter.
Hey, I didn't realize that we were going to be starting at 7 minutes and 30 seconds until everyone was like, oh man, 4 seconds away from starting. Like, oh shit, I need to clap my hands. But all right. It all worked out in the end. It all worked out.
And finally, we have Mitch.
Wedding planning is hard, and I have the best fiance in the world.
Also, your superhero name is the Run of Show. That was kind of my theme, is that everybody had superhero names.
Oh, good call. Does that tie into something we're going to talk about in a little bit, or?
No, it's just completely random for no reason. We're talking about superheroes, or
superheroes suck,
or I'm wearing a superhero hat. That has no reason for that either.
I've gone down a rabbit hole, guys. I am so ready for this Avengers game to come out. It is ridiculous.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to interject here and say, unfortunately, I would say that my hype levels for this upcoming Avengers game have actually kind of plummeted, really, over the past couple of days. Here's the thing. There's a lot of great press coverage coming out right now about how apparently the single-player campaign to this Avengers game is great. I'm really happy to hear that. You know, I was fearful that Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal weren't going to be able to pull it off, and it seems like against all odds they really have. But man, I'm just, for whatever reason, my hype levels have just completely died down. Probably has something to do with a lot of my recent interests and one of the games I'm going to be talking about later on, but I'm happy that you're happy. I'll say that much.
I guess
I've gotten to a point where just any piece of content, or even watching people former guest in front of the show, MC Fixer, streamed his first hour playing the game. Greg Miller put up, I think, his first 90 minutes. It's one of those things where it's one of those releases where it's like, I know it's not going to be for everyone, but I'm at the point where it's like, I'm getting shaky. It's like, I'm going through withdrawals and I just need it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's always like that, like whenever there's like that special game coming out and you just kind of can't stop thinking about it. That was me with Doom earlier this year, and it's going to be me with Cyberpunk when that comes out this year, hopefully, fingers crossed. But like, it really is this like, just this unparalleled feeling of just the anticipation of it being 1-2 days away. It's like I even though I don't feel it exactly for Avengers, I'm very happy that you're as happy as you are, because that feeling is very special.
Can I just say, I wish I was excited for this game. I wish I had that in me. I don't know what it is.
I wish you were too.
Maybe it's my disconnect from the Marvel universe, because I'm always been more of a DC guy. I wish DC would make something cool. I can't wait for Suicide Squad.
It's called the Snyder Cut.
Suicide Squad, Gotham Knights, Snyder Cut, Aquaman 2, Wonder Woman 1984.
Project
DC
Gotham
fans
Racing.
are in for a great couple of years.
Yep.
What did you say, Cozy?
Project Gotham Racing?
Yeah, yes. That's a good one.
Man, I love Project Gotham Racing.
Oh, that was such a good
great game.
It was.
Was that the Dreamcast one?
Nope.
No, it was like early 360.
Xbox, and I think there was one on there. It was originally, the first two were on the original Xbox, and then I think the third one was on 360 at the launch.
It evolved from the series on Dreamcast because it used the Kudos system from a game on Dreamcast. Now it's bothering because I played the Dreamcast game, not the Xbox game. And now I want to know what it is, but I can't look at that. Somebody else go look at that.
So apparently there was like a precursor to the Project Gotham Racing series called Metropolis Street Racer, which was on the Dreamcast.
That's the one I'm thinking of. That was a great game. Dreamcast underrated system. I never used to like Sega games, but the Dreamcast, that was a classy system. So, all right, well, let's get into a bit about what everybody's been playing. I'm going to pick on AJ first. AJ, you got some interesting things here. What's going on?
Yeah, well, this week a couple games that I'm actually somewhat interested in came out on Game Pass. The first one being Wasteland 3. I've been playing it on my Xbox One launch. First things first, the visual appearance of this game, we're really pushing this hardware. This definitely, some of the textures and stuff like that, especially if you get kind of close up at things, looks like it's probably running on like low settings if you were to think of a PC equivalent. But you know, other than that, so it's basically it's like a classic CRPG. The closest similar game that I would attach this series to would be the Divinity Original Sin series. It's very similar to that in terms of it's a top down isometric kind of, you can explore the world and then all your battle encounters are turn based. But it's very dialogue heavy, which I kind of have a hard time with. I almost wish it were a little more. At the very least, the cutscenes were cutscenes. The dialogue was presented in like a Mass Effect or a Fallout 4 style, where it just seems a little more interesting rather than top-down characters just sort of talking into the void, and you get the text on screen and you finish reading it before they finish speaking the lines because they're acting the lines really well and stuff. But I don't know. So far I'm having a decent time with it. Cozy, I think I put a couple of game clips up there for you.
People should be viewing them on screen right now.
Yeah, there's not a lot going on in these clips specifically, but I'm very early on. I've played for maybe 2 hours, and there's a lot of story that I have to go through there. So
can we play together via PC and Xbox?
That I'm not sure of. I don't know if there's cross play or not.
I wouldn't hold out on it.
Yeah,
I don't think. A lot of games like this probably won't have it, at least at launch. So
okay. Yeah, so actually, if you're interested in learning more about kind of the development behind this game, Daniel Dwyer of NoClip fame did a podcast with one of the developers behind it. So give that a listen.
Okay. Fun fact about the Wasteland game, because I reviewed Wasteland 2 and I liked it a lot, but the original Wasteland was the inspiration for the first Fallout game. That's kind of where the team came from, and Fallout, which follows this structure very much. This is what Fallout 3 would have looked like if it was developed by AAA.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where they went with that. Instead, Fallout went to an open world, which I think is good too, because I like those open world games. But what about the other game you've been playing? I heard it's been pretty well received.
It seems like it's very well received so far, and I'm having a good time with it. Absolutely.
Are we talking about Wasteland, or are we talking about another game?
No, I was segueing to Crusader Kings 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. Crusader Kings 3. We were just watching friend of the show, TJ, Private Jeebus in the chat, play it on his stream, but it's a very dense strategy game where you control a ruler, and you're trying to manipulate these relationships between your neighboring rulers, and you're trying to create a family lineage that eventually can go in and conquer the majority of like the Europe area, where it's called Crusader Kings. It's the Crusades basically, right? And you're trying to work your way from like a feudal lord and work your way up and have your lineage survive as long as it possibly can. Meanwhile, everything for every other character on this map is happening at the same time. It's very dense, just like the previous iteration was, but it's a little more approachable. But I still found that I'm hitting kind of a wall of like, okay, I don't know what I should be paying attention to, which is, it is what it is. Something about dense strategy piques my interest, but then I sort of lose interest a little bit. Like after a little while when I hit a wall of the density, but I did have a good bit of fun with it for a few hours earlier today. So
all right,
yeah.
Sweet. No, that's good. Maybe I'll give...
That's on Game Pass on PC. So if you have Game Pass, you just kind of have it. So give it a shot.
All right, sweet. Cozy, is this a game that you have listed here, a certain scientific railgun spectrum story, or is this a game you're working on?
No, it's not a game that I am working on. It's a game that I've been playing. Game here being a very, very loose term. Okay, so you guys remember how last week I talked about how I've fallen down an anime rabbit hole and how like my interest in games has just completely died up? Well, over the course of this past week, it's gotten worse. Not only am I so much into anime right now, but it's gotten so much worse that I was looking at the App Store and saying, what are some more like sort of online games? What are some more a certain scientific railgun, a certain magical index games? And I found this little game called a certain scientific railgun gun Spectrum Story. And I'm going to show you some gameplay footage of it here. Basically, the way it was presented to me is that it was a dating style game in which you get to talk and interact with one of the main heroines of the certain scientific railgun anime. That's how it was presented to me. Now, I downloaded the game thinking, honestly, I'm just going to enjoy this as a goof. I'm just going to see what it is, and then I'm going to just based on that either delete it from my phone or and or talk about it on the show because I think it'll make a funny story, and what I found was actually a cleverer game than I was anticipating. Do you guys remember that dating game that came out for smartphones a little while back, Mystic River?
No. I remember the movie.
I may be misremembering the name, but basically it sort of blended the line between kind of reality and fiction by making it so that like the people that the boys that you were interacting with would like message you on your phone. So it was sort of like almost like a dating app. This app basically does something similar where basically it's entirely presented as you're having these sort of like telephone conferences with this female character, and when you first open up the app, it has you like sign, like basically say, hey, we're taking part in this test, click here to agree to this thing, click here to agree to that. Like it feels like you're basically trying out like an experimental, like in prototype work in progress thing. And then when you get into the actual app itself, you can like engage in video chat stuff, or you can engage in like message chat stuff, which you may have briefly seen in the video footage earlier. And when you're in the message chat stuff, it'll do neat little things to sort of further keep you kind of immersed in the experience. Again, blur the line between kind of reality and game, or like at one point the character will be like, hold on a quick second, I need to change my avatar. And when then they do that, their avatar will change in real time, as it would if you were, say, communicating with them on Twitter or on Discord. When they post a message, it will timestamp it with the exact amount of time that they sent the message over. I'm not ready to call this game a great game or even a good game. I think that those terms are irrelevant in terms of describing what this is. But this game was a kind of great reminder that presentation is really important when it comes to any kind of game, and it can elevate what I thought was just going to be a joke of an experience like this to something that was actually kind of novel in this weird sort of way. So yeah, you guys can all start calling my psychiatrist and letting him know that I've gone off the deep end and I need to be saved. But I just wanted to quickly highlight that.
All right. I think we need to get to a point where we have enough people gift in or sub or whatever they need to do into twitch.tv/CozyBearLive to break him out of this funk and get him excited to play Avengers with his boys. I'm just saying.
Maybe we need to sponsor a therapist for Mitch's addiction to this Avengers theory. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like if anybody here is obsessed, it's Mitch. I'm
this
like
unadulterated hype and love for this game, where it's continuously proving that it doesn't really deserve it, is very interesting.
I'm curious to see what the critics actually think of it, because there aren't reviews live for the game, even though it's playable. Are we sure it's not getting delayed? I'm just putting it out there.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. At this point,
just leave. I'll host the rest of the show. God damn it.
We could go to. I could go into an EB Games now, and if I found somebody who's very generous, I might be able to get the game now.
The system wouldn't let you sell it.
Friend of the show was able to pick up his collector's edition today somewhere.
Yeah,
in the
I saw that. That was.
But don't they give you access early with the collector's edition?
So just. Inside baseball, we record this on Wednesdays. The digital deluxe and like the digital editions that are above standard all came with 3-day early access. So those players were able to play Tuesday at midnight. So like Monday into Tuesday. Most of us have to wait until Friday.
Interesting. I thought the collector's editions would give you early access. Maybe not then. All right. Well, let's segue over from that to... I don't know. So let's talk about Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
I like how you just called my game that.
I mean, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay, so I've been playing Hellblade. As the segue, I mean, there are voices in my head right now that told me to play Hellblade. This is yeah, I know, it was really shitty. I'm sorry. I'll leave after this. But so yeah, this is a game. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is a game that has been on my backlog for a really, really long time, because this was probably the game that made Microsoft buy Ninja Theory. Because this came out just before they acquired them in 2018. It came out like the year before in 2017, and it is without it. I'm close to the end of it, because it's not a very long game either. It's like 7 hours, which. It was kind of the big reason why I decided to play it right now, is because I needed something small before Avengers comes out. And so I thought Hellblade would be perfect because it is not very long. And the presentation in this game, you can tell that it is a budget title in a sense, that it wasn't made on a AAA budget, but that's never been what Ninja Theory has really done with any of their other games. This is one of the best presented games that I've ever played, specifically in the audio department. Because for those who aren't aware, you are playing as a character named Senua, who has psychosis. And the way that they do the voices in her head, because there's about 3, maybe 4 voices that you can hear, and they all range in personality, and some of them are very contradictory of her, and some of them are encouraging her, and it's really, really cool. This is a game you have to play with headphones, for one, because if you just don't, you are missing out on so much of the experience, because it really uses it's not 3D audio, but they use the left and right channels really, really well, where it's you'll have one voice in your right ear and then a different voice in your left ear, and then everything else that's going on. It's just this fantastic experience so far that has made me feel very uncomfortable at times, because this is probably, and I didn't get that far in Celeste, but this is probably the best game that I've ever played that deals with mental health. There is so much going on in this game that I can't wait for one, to finish it, and then 2, to just think about it, because where I'm at so far, I'm this is just incredible, and it's available on Game Pass, so it's a marvel of an experience, and I can't wait to see what Ninja Theory does with Microsoft money behind them for Hellblade 2.
Speaking of on Game Pass, just real quick, it's also in the Xbox streaming app. it's also the one game they're testing out touchscreen controls with.
Interesting.
Would you say, I haven't tried it, would you say that's a good idea?
I mean,
could you see it translate it?
I mean, I don't think most games were going to translate well to touch controls. I know Gears 5 is another one that they've been practicing with, but I don't know how Hellblade would. It's not very in-depth combat. It's kind of I'm trying to think of like what game I would compare it to. Like I can't think of an apt comparison like combat wise, but it's mostly just kind of like two buttons. Like you have a heavy, you have a light attack, and you have a kick, and then you block, or you can block, and then you can also parry. And it's very intimate in the way that the camera is used. So I don't know how it would translate. Like there's not that many buttons that you use, and outside of combat, you're not really doing much else besides running around, and you'll maybe have to interact with something or look at something. So I feel like that would translate decently, but I don't know how the combat would. I mean, if you're playing any game on a screen that's like, not even that big, you're just not gonna have the real estate for buttons, like on-screen buttons. So I don't know.
I just
might work well on your. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I just looked it up. It's actually on Game Pass on PC as well. So
yes,
that's one of the games. That's one of the games I definitely didn't play. So I might give that a shot.
It's definitely worth it. Just make sure you play it with headphones is my biggest.
Yeah, I bought it in a PSN sale probably like a year and a half ago, and I actually picked it up earlier this year to give it a go, and then something else got in the way or distracted me or whatever. It's one I need to get back to, but I did get to like the first sort of boss encounter, and having I have the PlayStation Gold headset, so same idea. It can do the dual channel audio and everything, and it messes with you. It's really, really, really well done.
Also, if you are a big fan of Norse mythology, which I have been basically since God of War 2018 came out.
What's the arm?
That was the biggest thing that I took. That was one of the biggest things I took away from God of War 2018. And Hellblade is even like way deeper into Norse mythology. Like there's literally one character who is in your head, and he just tells you stories about different gods and different races and all of that. It's really, really fascinating, and it's cool. Some of the ones that I knew about too, like they do mention Baldur at one point from Baldur being the son of Odin and what happens to him, and it's funny to hear that, the telling of it, like the story of it, and then how they changed it for God of War, and how it's still kind of similar though in some ways. It's really interesting parallels. So that's just another thing. If you like Norse mythology, or even just are like vaguely interested in it, it's a great game to hear a lot of that mythology.
Sweet. Also, you got it to a movie theater, I heard.
I did.
How was your movie theater experience?
So I decided because Cineplex, our local theater chain, has opened up in August, and one of the big movies that they opened up like very shortly after they opened up for came to theaters. It actually happened. Tenet was released for some screens, and I went and saw Tenet at downtown Toronto at Yonge and Dundas. Anybody familiar with that theater? I did see it in IMAX. It's not like a real IMAX theater, but it still was a very nice like sound experience for the most part. I have a lot of issues with the movie itself.
Yeah, as far as I know, in Toronto, I think the only proper IMAX theater is Scotiabank, right?
No, isn't it also the place at Ontario Place?
The Cinesphere.
Yeah,
at
Cinesphere.
Ontario Place is also
yeah, that one I know is that was like the first IMAX theater. I very much love IMAX, just in like the visual fidelity that you get from it is so nice and clear, and then also just the sound. That's also a big thing about it. And Christopher Nolan is one of those directors who specifically uses, like, he shot, I remember Dunkirk was like 97% shot with IMAX cameras. He's like one of the only directors who actively uses it. And I know Tenet is similar. I don't know what the exact percentage was, but there were because you can mostly tell when a movie, or like when scenes are shot in IMAX versus non-IMAX cameras, because you can tell because the aspect ratio changes. So that's kind of that's the biggest tell. And you can, like, a few times in Tenet, the aspect ratio would just change just a little, just for like 1 or 2 shots, and then it would like immediately go back to IMAX. So that's one of the biggest things that I like about Christopher Nolan, is that he has that power to be able to get that budget to be able to do the things he wants practically. Mm-hmm. Tenet itself, though I will not spoil it because I do think it is worth going to a theater and seeing. Really? I didn't like it. It's the spectacle of the movie is great because he is a competent director who knows how to make action scenes interesting and like understands visual language. Controversial opinion or whatever, I don't think Christopher Nolan is a good writer, like at all. I really think of most of his movies. I don't think they're well written in the sense that he doesn't do characters well.
Best character he has written is a character that he did not create.
Exactly. That's why I think
and that is Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yeah, like that honestly, like that whole thing was very much held up because of Heath Ledger's performance. Like most of the characters in Tenet, trying to actually talk about this movie. Most of the characters, I literally do not know their names. The only person who I remember is Neil, who is Robert Pattinson's character. And that's just because Robert Pattinson is raw charisma as fuck. And so he was the best part of the movie by far. Tenet is worth seeing in theaters if you can go to one. The memes aside, it is the way that it's meant to be seen. But except for
do not risk your life to see this movie.
Yes, if there's no good safe way to see it, like the theater I went to was surprisingly very, very well clean. There wasn't a lot of people in it anyway, even though they were selling at like probably maybe like 50% capacity, I think is what they're doing at Cineplex.
I think it's up to 50 people.
Oh, okay.
Per auditorium.
Okay, that would actually make sense because they're like
that's
600. They're like 600 person theaters. Is that on the high side?
That sounds like it's on the high side, but I think Young and Dundas might be up there, to be honest.
Yeah. Again, without getting into spoilers, where would you say that the movie ranks compared to Nolan's previous films?
Okay.
Like better than what film, worse than what film? Yeah.
So my favorite Christopher Nolan movie is The Dark Knight, and I think most of that comes from my love of Batman more than my like of Christopher Nolan. Because of like Batman. So I think the only one that I haven't seen is The Prestige, so I'm not going to rank it in that, which is
watch arguably one of his best movies.
Yeah, honestly. I'd like to.
It is one of my favorite movies. Period.
I probably
regardless of whether it's him.
I probably should if I want to form a full opinion about Christopher Nolan, because it's like I think the tier list of Christopher Nolan off of the ones that I can remember in my head: Dark Knight, Inception. I like Dunkirk a lot more than I think some people did. So Dunkirk, Tenet would probably fall like under The Dark Knight Rises, because I would go Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, Tenet. Just the characters were really, really disappointing, and I'm more than positive he came up with the idea. With the idea of, I want to do action scenes where people are moving in reverse. Thought about that, and then tried to make a story that was around that. And the whole MacGuffin of like the people being the inverted, like everyone being in reverse, isn't interesting. And by the time that they actually explain what's happening, you kind of don't care. And before anyone says anything, yes, I understood what Tenet, like I understood the big picture themes that he was trying to go for. I still think it was stupid. I get defensive about it because I don't like Interstellar, and people are like,
hold on.
I've had multiple people be like, oh, you just didn't get Interstellar. And so, no, I understood what was happening in Tenet. Fuck you. I didn't like it.
Did you realize, though, that Tenet spelled backwards is Tenet?
I did. That was a very, very blatantly, no pun intended, blatantly.
That's your name.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my thing with Tenet. Go see it if you can, but it's worth seeing in the theater, but it's not.
It's worth seeing once it comes to on demand as well.
In some ways, it might even be better because, just very quickly, the sound mixing for Tenet was very, very bad, to the point where you literally cannot understand what people are saying sometimes. It's really bad. So seeing it with subtitles might actually make the experience better.
It seems like that's Sorry, I just want to say quickly, I feel like that's a consistent criticism of a lot of Nolan's films. Like, there was The Dark Knight Rises with the Bane stuff. Some people thought that Interstellar was a little bit too all over the place, where it was just too loud, too quiet. And it seems like that tradition is continuing here.
Yeah, it's kind of wild that it is kind of wild that he has had this problem so consistently for so long.
It's probably one of those weird things where he knows the lines, so he can like pull it out, but like somebody who doesn't know what's happening can't. So
yeah.
Well, and he'd have to be cognizant at this point of it happening as well.
Yeah,
because he knows that's a criticism.
Yeah, I think it might even. I have no basis to prove this, but he probably knows. Like, he's probably like I'd assume at this point Christopher Nolan works with a lot of the same people, and so the sound mixer he probably is like friends with, and just will hire. Like, again, this is all conjecture, but you know, if you're helping a bud out, you know, might as well do that. Either way, it's a weird issue with that, but again, like, a lot of people have brought that complaint up aside me.
I think the biggest question sitting in front of us now as a group, and we have to really think hard and long about this. We now know that theaters can be reasonably safe. Who's coming with me to see the New Mutants?
Dude, I'll do it. I haven't done it yet, but I genuinely have been planning to go see that.
Are there any? Hold on. Are there any reviews for that movie? Because I know that it's out. I've literally heard nobody talk about that.
As far as I know,
the reviews are all over the place. There's some that are okay, and some that are like, you should not even buy this at a bargain bin DVD store. So they're kind of all over the place.
I can't wait to see in my personal list of where it falls between X-Men Origins Wolverine, Dark Phoenix, and X-Men 3. Like, where is it going to fall in that spectrum of bad?
Should we watch it Saturday?
I have reservations about, like, if I were to go, it would be similar. Like, I know Alex went on a Thursday at 4 p.m.
Yeah,
I'm more likely to want to take off, like, say, tell work I'm taking a half day or something, and go to a theater on a Tuesday afternoon at 2 p.m, where it is likely not to be as busy. Or, so I figured out a trick. So Cineplex sells 50 seats in the theater, right? They sell them in groups of 2 with 2 seats between you and the next closest person. If you had 25 people that wanted to go to a movie and you bought one of those 2 seats, they would not sell that other seat. So if you had 25 or 24 friends to go see it with, you could buy every ticket in the auditorium and no one else would be able to buy a ticket. So you would see it with just those 25 people in a full auditorium.
Dude, that sounds so
big brain thinking.
Dope. So kind of funny, Toronto. When are we doing it?
Okay.
I'm not encouraging anyone to go to a theater.
We should take this
more or less making this as a joke. Yeah.
Let's take this offline, and we'll come back to hopefully being able to do events in the near future. Mitch, so let's segue out of movies in theaters and talk about watching things at home.
Yes, sir. I've been watching things at home. Many a things. The big thing is High Score on Netflix. So this is a new video game documentary series, short limited series, and it's, at least from what I've seen thus far, I've seen like the first 2 episodes. It's really well done. It's comprehensive. I'm learning things about it. Is it. I think it's 6, but I could be totally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm unfamiliar with it. So it's video game documentaries, but what does that mean exactly? Because that's very broad.
It is just the history of the industry. So they're starting out with Atari being a thing. They interview the lead developer of E.T. We all know what that did for the industry. They get people that have been involved with the Nintendo World Championship, and like
apparently it's narrated by Charles Martinet.
Yeah, narrated by Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's really good.
These people, they did a series about toys, like action figures and stuff.
Oh, the toys that made us.
Yeah, the toys that made it.
Yes,
so,
I believe.
Okay, so yeah.
Also, the movies that made us.
The movies that made us. Yeah. Oh,
both of those are phenomenal. If you haven't seen those, the Power Rangers episode specifically of the toys that made us is out of this world great. I love it. So they find things about video games that I didn't know, and I follow this industry pretty closely, and it's been really good watching along with that thus far, and I'm looking forward to finishing it up sometime between now and me getting lost in Avengers.
So you have a day and a half from
pretty much.
I want to chat about a few things quickly. Number one, I did a review. It went live today for Manifold Garden. Have you guys caught up on that? They snuck that one out.
The Nintendo Indie Showcase or whatever, the mini direct.
Yeah, the Indie Mini Direct launched that day. But essentially, it's I'm trying to not use the term Portal-esque because I feel like we use that about too many games. But it's the
first-person puzzle game.
Yeah, first-person puzzle game. Is it possible to talk about first-person puzzle games and not bring up Portal? I feel like it's so hard.
I'm looking at screenshots of this right now. I feel like it's partly the comparison comes because of the art style that this game has decided to choose. It's very similar with the massive use of white, like because you can have first-person puzzle games like The Witness, and people aren't comparing that to Portal. Yeah. I think it's specifically because a lot of these genre, like these first-person puzzle games, they just look like Portal.
I don't remember if I talked about it last week. Did I bring up Metamorphosis on the show last week?
Yes, you did. That was the bug game, and you gave a warning.
You're a bug. Yeah, so I mean that was first-person puzzle platforming, and I didn't really draw any parallels with Portal when I was playing through that. But I think it's just that is the benchmark to which first-person puzzle games are being held, even if they're not directly related. That is the pinnacle. Yeah. And everything else, at least since or for the foreseeable future, will likely fall short.
Watching the footage, though, there are a lot of sequences where it seems like you have to carry around a cube in front of you and use it to activate some sort of puzzle or waterway or something to that effect.
Yeah, so the cube's like the main puzzle aspect of when you're going through the game. It doesn't deviate from it too much. It uses the cubes in different manners. The big thing with it is that you shift gravity. You shift gravity around. So you can be on any wall you want to by clicking on it, and your floor kind of changes, and then that gives you access to different cubes when you're trying to get everywhere. I think the big draw of the game is the art style. I don't know if you guys saw from the trailer, but it's stunning. Like the game's gorgeous.
It looks really good.
It looks very striking with its colors.
Yeah. Very striking. The MC Escher-esque appearance of it really goes a long way. One of the things I almost want to say I appreciate, I'm not sure I do, but I want to say I do because I'm still not decided in my head. But there's no story to it. I played. What was the game I played a few weeks ago? Subliminal.
Yeah,
that came out.
Superliminal.
Or Superliminal.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah, and it did a lot of really cool things with the puzzles. It didn't really repeat them, but I felt the story was a bit of a letdown in the end. And as we talked, like it's hard not to compare, especially when you have stories to things like Portal or the Stanley Parable. In terms of what storytelling you could do. And I kind of felt flat near the end of it. But this one, it's completely devoid of any story. Like, it's just this beautiful world that you're exploring. And you're just kind of dropped in it and you go. So, and I think maybe instead of doing a half-baked story or a story that doesn't just quite work out, maybe that's the way to do it. So... But really interesting, really neat. I think it's on all the systems. I played it on Switch, but I think it's available on all the systems now. So, the other thing, I want to toot myself on the back. I've now 50 wins in Fall Guys.
Congratulations.
I'm working on the 5 wins in a row infallible trophy. And then I will platinum.
Just let me know. Have you gotten 4 wins in a row?
I have actually, and I fucked up on some.
Wow.
You gotta do it in a squad, honestly, because I played earlier this week with some friends in the little time I did have to spend with it this week, and we got to Jump Showdown.
Okay, yep.
And we ended up on the last platform of Jump Showdown, and there were 3 of us in the squad that were left, and 1 other guy. So 2 of us from either side, we scissored the guy, grabbed him, bar took us. Our 3rd team member got the win. It was glorious.
Nice.
But I just remembered back to something else I did this week, and that's that we hosted a watch party within the Kind of Funny Toronto group, where we watched Black Panther in memory of the passing of Chadwick Boseman, which I don't know about you guys, but it hit me particularly hard just because it kind of came out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
And he did so much to advance the onstage or pop culture presence of Black people in media, and his what he represents will never like, I don't know if we'll ever get another Chadwick Boseman in terms of the impact he's had. I hope we do. But it goes without saying that everything he's done has been phenomenal, and he will be deeply missed. And our condolences to him or his family and all those that were close to him. As AJ said at the beginning, Wakanda forever.
Yeah, Wakanda forever. I want to just sort of say, because I had like a really interesting reaction to it in the sense that like because he passed away from colon cancer that no one knew about. He kept that very personally like inside.
He filmed 6 movies in 4 years, including 3 Marvel films, with friggin' the press tours and all the work that goes on outside of the actual filming. The guy was a legitimate superhero.
And
as
just want to say quickly, in the wake of his death, of course, there was a infamous interview passage that was going around where basically somebody was saying, so wait a minute, you bulked up for Avengers, then you bulked down for this other movie, and then you bulked up again. And he's like, yeah, it was really hard, and if I live to tell the tale, it'll be a hell of a story. And it's just,
it is.
Yeah, there's so much more context around things like that now, that really interesting to see how his mindset was during that time, because like I don't want to exactly relate this essentially, but like I going through my leukemia treatment, that destroyed me for 2 years where I wasn't capable of doing anything. And so to know that during this time he filmed 6 movies, 3 of them being some of the biggest movies in the entire world, is no short of absolutely incredible. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to watch Black Panther with you guys when you guys decided to do it, because I had a weird Sunday. But just like getting to like the next time I watch him in Civil War or in Black Panther, it's going to be this. I think it's going to be this really emotional experience of just like, wow, you. Sorry, I'm a little lost for words with this, but just
it's
what
okay.
what he did was no short of amazing, and there's a podcast that I listen to called Play Watch Listen with Troy Baker, and he compares it to what Bowie did, in the sense that it's like with Bowie how he released Lazarus and then passed away afterwards, and it's like he got to kind of make his legacy while he knew this thing was kind of like peering down on him. And there's really nice comfort with that, even though he did pass way too young.
He spent the years knowing he had what is, for all intents and purposes, a death sentence. Like colon cancer is no joke.
Stage 3, which is very
if you have any family history of colon cancer, or you yourself are worried, don't wait. Get tested. It's that simple. That's not something to play with. But he took the last few years of his life where he knew there was not a lot of time left, and delivered some of the most memorable performances and some of the most impactful for the Black community. And for that, he will forever be remembered and cherished amongst many, many of us. I've said previously, Avengers Endgame is my favorite film of all time. I get emotional every time the portals scene happens.
And now it's just going to have that extra layer.
I haven't been able to watch it yet because I don't know if I'll get through that without breaking down and just bawling, because
Rachel and I watched it on the weekend, specifically the Endgame end scene and everything, and that scene specifically, it was very powerful. I wish there was a way for us to snap our fingers and have him walk through a portal again. That would be great.
If I could have one memory erased from my brain and I could relive it, it would be seeing Endgame opening night and the cheers in that auditorium.
Yeah, like on Twitter after he passed, people were sharing the hand cam videos that people had taken of that night, and it is this feeling that is almost unparalleled. I've never had anything even remotely like it in a movie experience, and very
likely we'll never have that again.
Yeah. And just really quick on the same topic of also just a reminder to be better. Towards the start of the pandemic and everything, Chadwick Boseman tried to release some, words of encouragement out on his social media feeds. Unfortunately, he was looking thinner and a little more ill than the previous time anybody had seen him publicly. And he started getting called, horrible names and all that, calling him out on it. And it's just like, you truly never know what somebody is going through.
This is a good reminder that, everyone has their own struggles that you might not be aware of, but just, be good.
If you're out there tearing people down because you yourself feel better by doing that, fucking get help, because you have serious issues, and that's not cool. It's not cool here. It's not cool anywhere I exist on the internet, and if I see that, I'm done with it. Just fuck right off.
Yep. I agree.
Yep. All right. I just want to say quickly, because I didn't get much of a chance to talk there. I hadn't seen Black Panther, so I watched it with my boys on the weekend. It's a great film.
It's amazing.
Yep. Yeah. It's really good. And if you haven't had a chance,
the
soundtrack is great. And just the cast is excellent. Like every single person in the cast, from Michael B. Jordan to
Andy Serkis, Lupita Nyong'o, Martin Freeman,
thank you.
Letitia Wright, and also one other thing, the man passed away. Don't immediately go to social media and figure, what's next with my character that I love. No, that's not what matters right now. What matters right now is a phenomenal human being is no longer with us, and that's what we need to focus on. We saw from
2 months.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a problem for today. That's a problem for 6 months from now. And I just want to say, and I know people,
however Marvel does it, they're going to do it respectfully. That's all that matters.
Thank you, Square Enix. Thank you, Crystal Dynamics, for knowing and acknowledging what happened this weekend and in your war table this week, which we're not going to talk about because they won't let me. They acknowledged that their plans for the game had changed, and that out of respect for him and his family, that they were going to push their plans or do whatever they're doing. And that was the right move to make. So thank you, because we know it could have gone very poorly the other way.
Yep. All right. I think it's time. We're 45 minutes in. We got to jump into the news so that we can get to the fun. So let's just talk about some of these news pieces. I don't think it's been an okay news week. Hopefully they're not huge pieces that we need to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about here is from FanBite. It's Ubisoft faces backlash over clearly fascist Tom Clancy's.
Not again.
Dude, okay. Ubisoft can't be this blissfully ignorant while having all of this shit happening. The fact that it's just continuously thing after thing after thing like that, the controversies that they've been wrapped up in, they can't be this blissfully ignorant. I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's fine. I just want to say,
hilarious.
Sorry, go on.
I just want to say, Ubisoft games get criticized for, dealing with hot button political issues and not really handling them with any kind of care or nuance. But I feel like this goes a step further, where more than just not dealing with a political issue with nuance, it feels like it's directly feeding into the more salacious aspects of online culture. It feels like it's directly feeding into the egos of people that perpetuate conspiracy theories and racist, shitty beliefs about many of the kind of political movements that are sweeping the United States and the world right now.
If you really think about it, Tom Clancy games have always kind of been that way. It's just
a
lot of people have not necessarily been that politically inclined, or really gave it much thought. Also, the developers will always say, "Oh, no, well, no, it's not political." Meanwhile, their game, some games are
the most political game you can make.
Yeah, it's literally set in Washington. Not political.
Have we ever, I know EA has been named the worst company in the world through online polls and stuff. Has a single video game company ever had a worse PR year than Ubisoft is having this year?
Well,
Bethesda had a pretty bad year in 2018 with Fallout 76, and not just because the game was.
No, this is worse.
Konami was not politically charged in the way that Ubisoft's year has been, but I would argue that Konami's year was worse when all the Kojima stuff happened.
Yeah.
Again, not as politically charged in the same way.
I wouldn't even call it political, just being bad human beings.
So I want to be careful. I think there's people who make bad decisions. I don't want to say everybody at Ubisoft are bad human beings.
No.
I meant
course.
specifically the decision makers.
Yeah.
Which feeds a little more into this story. We've spoken in the past about how nepotism and the up and ups at Ubisoft, it's a boys club. They're very tight. They've been there forever. The lead developer, the studio lead of this game is the son of Yves Guillemot, who was appointed head of the studio upon graduating from university 5 years ago.
I used to take pride in being able to properly pronounce Yves Guillemot, but now I don't know if I take pride in that.
Might be time he's
close.
Well, yeah,
I think that company needs to, the leadership just needs to be, tossed out with the laundry or whatever, tossed out with the bathwater.
There's been discussion as to whether or not Yves Guillemot needs to step down or not, and in the past, even previously up to this point, I kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt, hey, listen, all boys club or whatever. You got rid of the bad actors for the most part and everything, but then hearing this is his son in charge of it. Yeah, okay, you know what? Get rid of them all. Start fresh.
It's kind of hilarious just how this stuff just keeps coming.
Yeah.
What was it? 2 years ago, there was that attempted takeover of Ubisoft, where there was that stock buy and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was like, no, Ubisoft, grassroots company, let's make sure that they stay independent and keep their image and everything. In hindsight, they probably shouldn't have stuck to that image.
Yeah, but I think that's different though.
A
Hostile
little
Takeover would have done bad things for Ubisoft in the what they make and shit. But
I know, but we might not have heard these stories if management had changed, which that likely would have led to. So
well, we'll never know.
Well,
can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
Fuck the people that do this kind of stuff at Ubisoft.
Yeah. I was going to say we do have an Ubisoft Forward coming up. We'll have to make a decision if we want to react to that or not. It has
I wasn't going to react to it in the first place, so I'm not interested.
Definitely want to watch it, when it does happen.
Yeah. Maybe we'll pop over into the kind of funny Toronto Discord and just voice chat there or something. But I don't know if we need to stream it.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
We can figure that out.
I'm curious of whatever Gods and Monsters is now. Immortals, Phoenix Rise,
so terrible.
I like Gods and Monsters. I think it was a good name. Okay, so regardless, until Ubisoft does something stupid again, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Let's move on from Ubisoft terrible news. Come on, Ubisoft.
To some good news. This is some good news.
So this is good news. NVIDIA is launching the GeForce RTX 390s, 380s, and 370s. And from everything I can see, they're a fantastic value proposition on the old 2020 line.
Yeah.
Not happy about seeing this.
In all fairness, when we built
building a PC,
we warned you. I told you.
We did tell you this. We knew this was happening.
It's an upgrade 2 or 3 years down the road. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest surprises from this whole NVIDIA reveal that they had, because we knew that there were going to be new graphics cards, and the assumption was going to be the 380, because that's how they've done it in the past, where they did when they did the 2080, and then the next year they did the 2070, and then the 2060. So the fact that they're that they unveiled 3 new cards that are all at different, they're all at for price to performance, they're really they're really what you said, good value propositions.
The
insanely
the 30. Let's start from the bottom. The 3070 alone, right? So you've got the 2080 Ti, which is their most powerful one, their flagship right now. For in the current series, and it, however slightly, still outperforms the most expensive option of the previous series and undercuts the price by almost 2/3.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the biggest, with the when they did the 1080 Ti a couple of years ago, and then they had the RTX line for the 2070. The 1080 Ti was still compared very, very well to the 2070. They were the only big difference was the RTX lighting. or the ray tracing. So that would be the reason why you'd upgrade. But like the fact that at least how they're touting it, that the performance on even the bottom tier of the 300 of the 3000 line is the fact that it's going to be that much better than like what you were saying, the 2080 Ti. I looked at those cards real hard, and when pre-orders go live, I'll need someone to stop me.
PS5 will stop you.
That's true. I actually did decide. You brought up a good point when we were talking about it a little bit earlier. PS5 will get me new experiences, but goddamn, I want that ray tracing for Cyberpunk.
Oh my god!
What card do you have right now?
I have a 1070, so no ray tracing. Yeah.
Okay.
You
can come play it on my PC.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm allowed to just sit there for 24 hours straight,
as long as you wear a mask.
Yeah, that's true. I've got some disposable gloves too.
I don't really mind that as much, but mask would be a thing.
Fair enough.
I might try to pick up a used. My guess is the market's going to be flooded with used 20 cards.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, I'm totally planning on. It's not a 20 card, but I am thinking about selling mine to potentially fund a 3000 or a 370.
3070.
3070.
Yeah, so this will be interesting, but it's a lot of good stuff. I'm curious to see what AMD does in well, I don't want to say in retaliation, but AMD has to show off their new stuff.
Yeah,
the
technology is
the PS5 is. No.
Well, the PS5 uses
that's
AMD chipsets.
Yeah, it's a custom
chipset made for each the PS5 and the Xbox.
Yeah,
because they're both AMD.
But I mean, that is really the competition right now, right? It is the other SKUs essentially of. Are you going to go PC or are you going to go console? It's good on NVIDIA to get this news out before we get the price release date and pre-orders for the Series X, presumably the Series S and the PS5, because now consumers really do have a choice. And that's probably, honestly, what drove some of the business decision to drive down these prices. Because if they can undercut those new systems, it's, do you want a brand new box or do you want to just upgrade your existing rig? There's now I think better debate there.
I think it's a different market that they're going for. I don't think anybody who was convinced that they were going to buy a PS5 and then saw that graphics card that's not gonna sway them. It's a different mind share.
Yeah, I think I've seen in a few Facebook groups and stuff people talking about, well, why would you buy a console? Because now you can get these graphics cards, and I think still with your minimum entry point of $499 just for the card. Your console gamer is going to be completely different because at $499 for the card, you're still looking at a minimum of $1,500 to build the PC, probably.
Yeah, because if you're getting one of these cards, you have to have a PC that also can perform every other task in line with this card.
Well, and a monitor that takes advantage of it.
That's true. Yeah, that's another thing is like I don't have a 4K monitor, so it's like I'd want to wait until I upgrade that before I'd get. I
think you're probably better off with the new monitor and then upgrading the card once you've got that. There's no reason to go the other way around.
It's a chicken egg thing because it's like, yeah, my graphics card could maybe do 4K, but not great. And so it's like it is like well, which do I do first? Because if I get the graphics card, then I can run stuff really well, but then I don't have a monitor.
So what will work is you're planning on getting a PS5 because of the experiences you can only get there. That will be a 4K device. There's no reason then not to upgrade the monitor if you want to stream it or whatever the case might be.
Man.
And then you get the graphics card.
I love talking about things that with money that I just don't have right now.
We'll help you out. That's why we're doing this, right? This is going to make us the big bucks.
Yeah.
Get us those sponsorships, those partnerships. NVIDIA, we'd love to review your cards.
I've already read your ad once.
It's a fun story about saving money for the PS5. My wife wants to go on a purge kick and get rid of lots of stuff in the house that we just don't use or need. Instead of donating it all,
your stuff was the first on the list to go.
If she want to get rid of my hats, she says 120 is too many hats, and I'm like, no.
How many have you worn so far today?
Yeah, you've switched like 6 times during this podcast so far.
I've got way more.
I figured you do. I like that hat. That hat's dope.
Okay.
For those who don't see it, it's a white X-Men hat with like is it pink or red?
Purple, isn't it?
X symbol? Purple?
Yeah. It's the purple X-Men.
It's great.
It's the purple X-Men logo. I got lots of cool hats. But I dug them out for the superhero show. I thought it'd be fun to switch through them during the superhero show. I think I've got about 15 of them here. So
it'd be great if you could have like a hat for every specific kind of game that you discuss. Like, here's my X-Men hat. Here's my Infamous hat.
oh, that
My
would be
Beautiful
has-
Joe hat.
I was gonna say, he probably has too many Spider-Man and Batman hats, which aren't allowed to be included.
I already wore a Spider-Man hat and a Bat Zero hat, I think. So
Yes, you did.
yeah. So anyway, this is good news about the NVIDIA cards. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that and how AMD responds and what happens to the marketplace. And let's finally touch base on what's going on with Apple and Fortnite. So this is coming to us from Reuters, from Stephen Nellis.
Reuters.
Apple terminates Fortnite creators' App Store account as lawsuit proceeds. This is everything we already knew that was going to happen. The one thing that is different here is that they did not terminate the developer accounts, so that people developing can still use the Unreal Engine.
A judge ruled that
on that.
Yeah, a judge ruled that they cannot do that because that would screw over other people, not just Epic. So this just essentially means that no Epic published games or Infinity Blade and anything that Epic has done specifically cannot be published. Their developer account is gone, but they can still use the tools and stuff to support other developers who are just making games using the Unreal Engine.
Yeah. So, but anything that Epic has produced, including dating back to Infinity Blade, which I think that was actually missed when we did the best mobile games.
Here's the thing. I thought about it, but because it wasn't available, it's not. I don't think any of them are available now in the App Store because they discontinued them. Like,
really?
Yeah,
there was at least one that was still there.
It might have been.
I would have let you have it. I'm just saying, I would have let you select it if.
Yeah, well,
the thing
Mitch
about
was the host, and he had he brought that up to one of your points.
I think
Mitch is a
that
bitch.
Talk about that.
If somebody had brought up Infinity War last week, I feel like it would have certainly enriched the conversation. The thing about Infinity Blade, though, is that, like, I feel like that was part of a very specific breed of games that came and went, where developers were trying to really, really, really make the iPhone into a legitimate platform for AAA games. There was the same period of time where they released Rage for the iPhone, and that game was like a pretty comparable port to its console editions. And like, not to say that it wasn't important at the time, not to say that they weren't great games, but I feel like, because they didn't really succeed in ushering in this era of console quality games on smartphones, is it really one of the most important iPhone games of all time?
It was showing the power that the iPhone had at the time. I think it was back in 2010, but very quickly people realized that's not the type of experiences people wanted on phones. And so you didn't need super powerful engines and devices to have games that people will get invested in and spend lots of money on microtransactions for.
I remember playing it on my iPod Touch, and I really
rest in peace.
So
Don't they?
No, they don't. They discontinued them. I'm pretty
Did
sure.
they actually? Oh wow!
I'm pretty sure.
at this point, the iPod Touch would be exactly the same as the phone, anyways. It just doesn't have the phone part.
Yeah.
So, and kids nowadays, the other problem is those kids you'd be given iPhone Touches to just get the old phones when you upgrade.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the need's there.
Though, I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of kids that were playing Fortnite on iPod Touches, just to bring it back to what we were actually talking about in Fortnite. And I'm actually more surprised we didn't see more backlash from consumers when the Marvel something war. I don't remember. I don't know what it's called. It's dumb. But the Marvel crossover event dropped in Fortnite, and that dropping basically blocked access to any iOS client from actually connecting to the game. I'm surprised we didn't hear more about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't get the stories.
That just means it worked. Their whole marketing play worked. They didn't face the backlash because Apple is getting the backlash, but I don't know.
Good on them.
The 7th generation iPod Touch released on the Apple Store as an online-only product on May 28th, 2019.
Okay.
So they're still around and kicking as far as I can tell.
Okay.
I was wrong about that. Yeah, because like I mean, I haven't been to an Apple store this year, but the last time I went into one, I just hadn't really seen like I don't know. It feels like they just don't talk about that specific product anymore. Like if you go to Apple's website, you can't even. They don't even like have it in like the top layer. It's like it says like Mac, iPhone, iPad. Like it's just not even there.
All right.
It is on the site though. I'm looking at it from 250 Canadian dollars.
Interesting. All right. Well, good to know. Okay, so then that brings us out of the news. Not as much news this week. We have one in read/watch all the things. We're not going to get into the weeds on it, but definitely an article you should go read from Vice, from Lorenzo Franceschi Vecchiai.
Keep going.
Someone whose Italian fiance is watching the show. You're in trouble.
I can call my mom if you want. She's Italian. She can help us out.
But anyways, it's Amazon is hiring intelligence analysts.
You didn't say whether I should call my mom.
Let's not.
Okay.
We're running on already. Next time. We should have an episode where we just call our parents and ask them questions about video games that they don't know. That could be fun.
Maybe.
I told my mom one time on the show, didn't I?
Yeah.
I'm calling in a ringer. I'm calling in a ringer.
What's the title of this article?
I need you to read this name for us after Nathan reads the title of the article.
Okay. Amazon is hiring an intelligence analyst to track labor organizing threats. There we go.
Franceschi Vecchiai?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's what I said.
nailed it. Yeah.
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Just really quick, we're using Twitch, which is an Amazon-owned platform. That doesn't mean that we cannot and should not be allowed to call Amazon out on their shit. Amazon has a warehouse in my town of Bolton, and the stories coming out of there are still pretty shitty, even here in Canada. And this is just even worse. It's bad news for people and workers, and people should be allowed to organize and not be abused by their employment.
I agree with this. I think it's probably most people agree with it, maybe except the people who are in charge.
Yeah, exactly.
So just give that a read. I think it's important to know and be aware of what's going on, especially because we do have Amazon in local in Ontario here. It looks like we have no deals raining this week. It's a pretty dry week for the deals.
I got one. There's a new PSN sale.
The essential sale.
The essential sale. I would say the highlight Ratchet and Clank is $10. If you have not played this game, get this game. It's one of the best games on the system. Probably one of the best platformers that Sony's ever produced. Play Ratchet and Clank on the PS4.
That is exciting. I need to play it.
$10.
I as well have an essential that I would like to call out from the essential sale. Give me 2 seconds here to pull my list up for it. Because if we're going to quote that, there was something that caught my eye. Now it is here. As a PlayStation essential, you must play Skyforge and get Skyforge money. So I don't think a lot of these are essentials. Oh yeah, and Tour de France 2020, that's an essential as well.
Red Dead's in there for $35. I might actually pick that up because Alex is going to make me play it.
Am I?
I don't know, maybe. The Quantic Dream collection, even though they can be kind of terrible people.
Detroit's a good game. I like.
No, I meant more so the developers can be kind of scummy.
Yeah, David Cage.
That's $18.50. Persona 5 Royals $52. Neo's $10. Ni no Kuni 2 is $20. Spider-Man Game of the Year edition is $25. There's good stuff in there.
There's some good stuff and some really terrible non-essential stuff. So, correct. Yes. Anyways, so let's move on. So we're going to go right into topic of the show now.
Oh yeah.
So we are going to be doing 5x5. Guys, did you see the 5x5 thing I created?
It's called Rankum. Thank you very much.
Oh,
I did not see it.
I forgot to do that. I did everything else to prepare for the show and didn't do that, so I apologize.
It's all right.
How dare you?
Mine's the best superhero movie. Actually, it's in the folder. That's incorrect. I'm going to change the title of it right now. Best superhero.
While
game.
Nathan's doing that, I will explain that Rankum is our game where the hosts that are not hosting the show give Nathan things to put onto a list, and he decides where they go. And based on where they go, we get points, and everyone gets mad at each other. Usually at me. It's great.
It's a very fun game. I enjoy it thoroughly, although I haven't been in the driver's seat for a little while. But you know what?
You're going to have a good time with this one.
I like the
I
salt
can't
that we
lose.
generate.
So, because I am not playing. Unless at the end I just decide to declare myself the winner.
Which I would not put past you.
It's in my thought process,
You
potentially.
ruined the surprise.
I'm not
going
going
to do that.
I should do that.
Where's
Anyway.
the doc? Did you make it?
Yeah, it's in the folder.
Oh,
Can you guys
I don't... Oh.
Yeah, it's
There's
Rankin.
a section on the side of Google Drive that just shows you recently updated files, and just grab it from there.
Rankin dash best superhero game that does not feature Batman or Spider-Man.
We are not titling the show that. That is way too long for SEO.
So anyways, so let's get on. I don't have a rhyme or reason. I didn't do a lot of prep today, so this is going to be really off the cuff, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. Because Mitch is did not participate in the last one, I believe, as he was the host, I'm going to let him go first.
Oh boy.
Interesting. Marvel's Avengers. He's only played it for the beta, but it's still going to be his number one pick.
This game released exclusively in the Japanese market in March of 1999. This game featured a mascot of a well-known Western company and tried to use said mascot to get a larger market share in that new kind of, market that it didn't have as strong of a foothold in.
Is it Pepsi Man?
It's 100% Pepsi Man. Pepsi Man is the game I'm bringing to this list. So Pepsi Man features Pepsi Man, the titular character, as a superhero based on the Pepsi brand. The game was akin to those such as Crash Bandicoot. It was kind of shorter. It really was just a marketing thing.
Hold on, let me get some
but ultimately, yeah, go for it. Ultimately, it actually didn't review terribly, which is the funny thing. People did lament it for being a little short, but ultimately it seems like it was a well enough made game, and it's not Batman and it's not Spider-Man, so it definitely belongs on the list.
It's
Pepsi Man. He's got
what's
man
your
in his name.
What's
That
your
makes him a
definition of a
superhero.
superhero, though?
Here's
if you
the
look
thing.
at Wikipedia, it says that this is based on the American carbonated soft drink Pepsi's eponymous superhero mascot. Pepsi Man was deemed a superhero. Therefore, this is a superhero game. Therefore, you can go suck a lemon, and Pepsi Man's going on this list.
I'm going to agree with Mitch in this case, partially because I have an entry coming up that I also feel is kind of borderline, and so I want to make sure that a precedent is set so I can make sure that mine is accepted as well.
You're welcome, Cozy.
But yeah, this is a superhero game, albeit an unconventional one.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to let this pass. This can make the list. And you know what, Mitch? Just because I like you and I don't think you played last time and I want to make you feel good internally, I'm going to put this at number 1.
I'll also say that the final moments of the game parodied Terminator 2. And just for that alone, it deserves to be somewhere high on the list.
Has anybody actually played this game?
Hell no.
James
It's
Rolfe.
Japanese only and released on the PS1.
James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, played it in one of his video reviews. Actually.
Which is where I discovered it.
Yeah.
That, and I think Jared Petty was tweeting about Pepsi Man this week, so I knew it had to come up on the show in some fashion. And if Cozy didn't do it, I was going to.
Sounds about right for Jared.
All right. Okay, so we now have starting of list Pepsi Man number 1. So AJ, what do you got?
Hi. All right. I remember years ago being very addicted to a yield flash game of yore, which is, flash games are getting unsupported soon, but there are ways that you can actually play them now. One being using a program called Flashpoint. The game I want to bring to the list, it's not Batman. It's Teen Titans. There was a Teen Titans fighting Flash game called Battle Blitz on the Cartoon Network website years ago. And it was surprisingly robust. It's just a 2D fighter where you play as Robin, you play as Beast Boy, you play as Raven, you play as Starfire, you play as Cyborg, and you just kick the crap out of all the enemies in the Teen Titans universe. And it's based off the really good show with the Japanese theme song and everything.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Yeah, it's based off that. From the mid 2000s. So
this isn't even off Teen Titans Go. This is off the original Teen Titans.
Yeah, the original Teen Titans. Yeah, which makes it even better in my opinion.
Did it have the voice actors from the show?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it had the voice acting or not, but it definitely had the theme song in there.
Okay, well, I mean, you know what? That's probably more important than the voice acting.
All it really needs is that theme song, because that's.
Yeah, it's still fucking awesome.
So, I love
just as a weird aside, I went down a rabbit hole of like watching anime intros from the late 90s, early 2000s. Y'all remember Shaman King?
No.
Yeah, but
that intro was a good one. I'm just gonna say.
All right. Okay, so this one here, AJ, I've got to figure out where to put it on the list here.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I really like the Teen Titans, and I think this is a good pick as I really like the show as well. I feel like it should be above Pepsi Man.
No.
So I'm going to put you at number 1.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Interesting.
I love
this list is already off to a great start.
Huh?
So I guess I'm going to do the list here. Teen Titans. Can somebody do the list while I talk?
Would, but I still can't see it because I know how it works, but I just don't see it in the drive. I don't know why.
All right, I'll link it. In
Hold on. Yeah.
All right. Okay. And then I can run that. That's not a problem.
Okay, we good? All right.
I think so.
I got it. It's going to take a while to load, but
should be on a computer or something.
Computer. Oh,
yeah, really. God, I need it.
Okay, Alex.
Hello.
What do you got?
So, what defines superheroes and a game that is about them? Well,
sorry. Can I say one thing before we move on? Not featuring Batman or Spider-Man. Does that mean that character cannot be in the game at all, or they just cannot be the star of the game?
They can be in it. It just can't be a Batman game or a Spider-Man.
It can't be.
It shouldn't have their name in the title.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to
just clarify.
Yeah. If it doesn't have their name in the title, you're good.
Yeah. So superheroes, what defines a superhero? Well, you have powers. A lot of them are open world games where you can go around a city, and the best ones allow you to interact with the civilians, both in positive and negative ways. The game that I am talking about is Prototype. Prototype is a fucking phenomenal game where you just get to just have your power fantasy of just going through the city of New York, and especially in the first few hours of the game before it like becomes like the zombie infested thing, you're still just like, you get to fly around as Alex Mercer, you get to eat people, which is awesome. What other game lets you eat people? That's my answer. It's Prototype, because you get to eat people.
Wait, is there Silence of the Lambs game? Because you might be able to eat people in that game.
No.
Oh, wait, Carry On. You get to eat people in Carry On.
That's true. And isn't that one of the most satisfying things that you get to do in that game? It's equally as satisfying in Prototype. Remember when you get to fucking surf on people and you turn them into a bloody mess? It's awesome. It's the ultimate. It's a really, really great power fantasy where you get to have superpowers and just do whatever you want. Like how anyone who would have these powers would do it. You just get to run amok. Prototype's great.
There was a sequel.
Can't wait to argue against that later.
Prototype. Yeah, Prototype. I think Prototype 2 was fine mechanically. The story-wise was fucking dumb. To be fair, the first game was also pretty dumb, but that's not why you're coming to play it. But I think it's a little bit tighter mechanically, but they're both very, very good, like B, like double A. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, double A games.
I missed the AA tier. Yeah, this is a game. I think it was a PS3 game, right?
Yeah, it was PS3, Xbox 360, but they did get ported to PS4.
Did they? Oh,
I think they
forget
both
both of
did
them are.
together.
Yeah, they come in like a pack.
Yeah. Okay. Where do I put this on the list? So I feel like it should sit. Honestly, I'm going to put it at number 3 below Pepsi Man.
It's my boy.
Can you eat people in Pepsi Man though?
I think Pepsi Man might be a cannibal.
I mean, he goddamn better be.
That's possible.
All right.
All right. Perfect. Cozy.
So I gotta be honest, I'm kind of shocked that nobody here went out of the gate and said an Infamous game. So I'm going to take the opportunity and talk
I chose
about
the better one. Prototype.
Okay.
They were.
Okay.
No.
I'm going to take the opportunity
I was on
here
Team Prototype because I only had a 360.
to talk about a little game called Infamous First Light. So, Infamous First Light follows the character of Fetch, who was introduced over the course of Infamous Second Son's narrative. In Infamous Second Son's narrative, I want to like Fetch more than she's portrayed there. I think that she's an interesting character and that she supplies Delson with a really cool neon-based power. However, I feel like her backstory, as it's presented in Second Son, is a little bit overly simple and cliche. Basically, it's just drugs ruined my life and that's about it. I feel like Infamous First Light, in addition to providing a gameplay experience that was even more refined than Second Son, actually managed to take her backstory and flesh it out and make it more and more about, basically just make it more of a fleshed out and interesting experience that was more than just, oh, drugs screwed up my life. Stakes run high, a brother's in need of saving, and overall, by the end of it, I came out of it with a just much greater respect for Fetch as a character than I had previously.
Yeah, so I think First Light is probably the best Infamous game, actually.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I really like First Light. I think Fetch as a character was excellent, and I think the fact that this was a standalone piece of content and really took what was the best power from Second Son and built it into its own game. Yeah, the neon power by far was the best power. Like once you had it, like I don't think I played as any other character type unless it was needed.
Yeah.
For anything specific, I would always be in this. So yeah, you know what? I think this is a good call. I think we picked the best Infamous game here, so I'm glad to see that. So Cozy, good job. We're gonna put this right at number 1.
All right,
That's fair.
there we go. That's how it's done, boys.
All right.
That's not the best Infamous game, but whatever.
I mean, you're free to
bring up the best
Yeah.
Infamous game later.
We can go head to
It
head.
could, but that's
How
too
about
much
that,
Infamous
Mitch?
on the list.
No,
Yeah.
Mitch,
Also,
are you sure?
I'm the person judging the list, so if you bring up what you think is the best Infamous game, that might not work. If I already said what I think the best Infamous game
That
is.
is also true. I did think of that.
So, all right. So Mitch, it is your turn. So I'm going to let you go again.
All right. Now, a superhero is someone, against all odds, given extraordinary abilities, tasked with saving the day, saving the princess.
Is it Mario?
Oh,
No,
I hope it's not Mario.
we're talking about Sora, and the game is Kingdom Hearts. Now,
Are we talking? Wait, hold on. Are we talking about Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, or 3?
we're talking Kingdom Hearts 1. So,
See, hold on a second here. I was actually thinking, well, I could bring up Kingdom Hearts 3 and talk about the Big Hero 6 world, because that's based off of a superhero property, but you're not even doing that.
no, I'm not. I'm bringing up Kingdom Hearts 1 because the story of Kingdom Hearts 1 is, star-crossed lovers, separated, extraordinary powers gifted to someone who doesn't know how to use them, learns how to use them. This is basically a Spider-Man story without it being Spider-Man. And at the end of it, he is tasked with rescuing the princess. Like he's saving the damsel in distress. That is, as stereotypical as it may be, that is what superheroes are more often than not tasked with doing. And for that reason, Kingdom Hearts is a great superhero game. It has that same fantasy of these extraordinary abilities, these crazy powers, far off worlds to explore, all this stuff. It's a great superhero game. It's a great superhero narrative, and Kingdom Hearts needs to be on this list.
I'm convinced
So,
that you and Alex Ballant are in league with each other to slowly besmirch the noble name of Kingdom Hearts intentionally
No,
and
Koji,
unintentionally.
legitimately, I love Kingdom Hearts.
I came back and you were saying that it is essentially the Spider-Man story arc, and I wanted to just get up and leave again. I was this close, and I came back and I heard that. That was the first fucking thing I heard when I put my headphones back on.
So
If this isn't number 13 on the list, then this is a fucking shitty list.
So let me make
Alex.
a ruling here. I'd like to make a ruling on this. So based on what you've, the criteria you gave me of what a superhero game, or what you believe a superhero is, Mario's a superhero. It's such a loose term that everybody can be a superhero because Mario gets powers. Mario saves a princess. Mario saves a universe. I do not believe that qualifies as a superhero game. So I'm going to do what I think is right. As much as I enjoy Kingdom Hearts, mostly when I can understand what's going on.
If you feel it doesn't meet the criteria, I can give you something else. I just wanted to see Alex's reaction for the most part.
Okay, I'm going to give you one opportunity to change. This is your one gimme. This everybody will have a gimme if I feel they need it. So this is your one gimme, Mitch. So give me a replacement for Kingdom Hearts because I do not believe that should be on the list at all.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, the game, is a phenomenal superhero game. The Super Sentai characters, as they're known in Japan, that franchise is a superhero fantasy. It is, 5, sometimes 6 ordinary teenagers given extraordinary powers, tasked with saving the world from the evil thing of the week. It is a superhero fantasy. In this case, yes, Ivan Ooze being the main antagonist of the Mighty Morphin Power. It's an interesting story. I could get into the whole, history of that film, how it got made, how it really shouldn't have gotten made because Western production for an Eastern property, but we won't get into that. The game itself, developed by not Konami. I had it.
Bandai, right?
Bandai, yes. This one was Bandai. Side scroller, beat 'em up, given the ability to morph halfway through the levels, which is always fun. Pick your favorite ranger. For me, it was usually Tommy, but sometimes if I had friends over, Rocky or Billy, it's at times I'm quite the Billy. And yeah, it was just a blast. Side scroller, beat 'em up, superhero weapons, powers, transformations, giant robots, monsters. What else you want out of a superhero game? It's great.
Okay. Yeah, this should be on the list. I love Power Rangers superheroes. It's been a franchise for a bazillion years. There haven't been many great Power Ranger games. This is a okay beat 'em up. I remember playing this as a younger kid. Where do I put it on the list?
Copy if you want to give it a shot one of these days.
I'm gonna say let's put it under Pepsi Man. So number 4.
He did say it's an okay beat 'em up. Like you weren't gonna get that much points for that one.
No, but
because it's Power
Pepsi
Rangers.
Man. Pepsi.
So
Yes, I'm surprised that that's.
I'm surprised, honestly, that Pepsi Man is still at number 3.
I just think it's a fun novelty, and I have a feeling it's going to change when we do the rebuttals.
Fair.
So I want to leave a little room for that. All right, AJ, I believe you're up next.
All right. So the next game I'm going to pitch here is the 4th game in a franchise. The first one started off as a unapologetic knockoff of the Grand Theft Auto series. They tried to do it their own way. The second one kind of followed suit, just kind of doubled down on that idea. The third one took it in a completely new direction and really opened it up and made a very kind of amazing splash on the world. Where do you go from there when you've already created one of the greatest open world games of all time? You give them superpowers. Saints Row 4, your character and all the people of the city that you play in are downloaded into this Matrix-like world by these aliens that have visited Earth. And you, as the president of the United States, are the only one capable of saving them. You've been granted these superpowers in this Matrix-like world to do with as you please, and what it does is it creates this really amazing open world sandbox that just kind of lets you unleash your imagination in ways that the third one, limited to limited to the craziness of the Saints Row the Third, kind of didn't give you, and it just took it that next step further. It's really the jump the shark moment for that series. Probably not as good as the third one in the series, but as a superhero fantasy game, absolutely stands up there with the rest of them.
Okay. This is an interesting pick because I know they did really focus on being a superhero. Now, my most important question, is there a giant purple dildo bat?
Yeah, 4 still had that.
Yeah, it still had it.
Okay, number 1.
All right, perfect.
Wow.
You just wait for those goddamn rebuttals.
You know what? I'm all for it. Saints Row 4 is fucking awesome, so I'm all for it.
No, it's not. It's not even the best open world game on this list.
Saints Row 4 is interesting because I remember when it came out, people were kind of lukewarm on it. But I feel like in the years since, it's managed to kind of endure in a way I think a lot of people weren't really expecting. It feels like a lot of people kind of look back on it fondly. And I wonder if that has to do with, like, ironically, how different and how much people kind of compare it disapprovingly to Saints Row 3, where the fact that it was such a radically different experience, such a departure from 3, actually allowed it to kind of thrive and be remembered more in the long term.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. And the Gat Out of Hell, that was a standalone game, right?
Yeah, that one wasn't very good.
Yeah.
I think I didn't pick that one.
That's the one where you were literally sent to hell, right? You had to negotiate with the devil for some.
You played as Johnny Gat in hell, and you had.
I played a little bit of that one.
Powers.
Because I don't think I played
the Saints Row games are meh open world games at best.
Okay, so this is Mitch's last show because that's a terrible opinion. Oh,
I'm taking a couple weeks off. I'm taking a couple weeks off after next week's show, so I'm gonna get spicy. Don't you worry.
Oh, dildo bat, big purple dildo bat.
Yeah, that's what gets at the number 1 position. That's for sure.
I'm up.
All right. So AJ. So Alex.
All right. So this is a game that, again, we're continuously, because we have to think a little bit more broadly about what a superhero game is a little bit, because unfortunately there's just not as many that don't involve Batman or Superman, or that are not Batman or Superman games. So you have to get a little bit creative with this. And
there are no good Superman.
Exploring, well, just you wait, motherfucker. Exploring the idea of what a superhero is and the themes of responsibility and standing up to people who are taking advantage of bad people. And it's a gifted individual who uses these powers bestowed onto them to do good things. And you're never going to see it coming because it's Persona 5 Royal. Persona 5 Royal is technically a superhero game because you are a teenager that has been gifted extraordinary powers, and you use them for good while still trying to question your own morality of, are you doing the right thing? And you stand up to all that is evil in the world. And you even have, like, you have literal, like, your persona of having being Joker. That is your superhero outfit. There's so many parallels to what makes up a superhero and what happens in Persona 5. I think it's a good pick. What do you think, Nathan?
5 is a superhero game. So is Kingdom Hearts, you motherfucker.
Not really. There's actually more. There's way more merit for mine than yours.
Oh, there isn't.
Yeah. So I really like Persona 5.
If Persona 5 is a superhero game, so is goddamn Pokemon. Come on.
But you wear except you change into superhero clothes. You know what? I think this is kind of like Power Rangers. In terms of, you get things. Yeah, it's kind of like Super Sentai almost.
I mean, a better source of inspiration when talking about what inspired Persona 5 is like Lupin the Third. Like, if you guys are familiar with that series.
Yeah, that's a thief show,
yeah,
right?
It's more like sort of like mystery, like debonair
vigilantes,
thieves than it is superhero. But I mean, I'm okay with
Persona 5 is very much like they consider the Phantom Thieves being vigilantes, which most superheroes are vigilantes, like the way that they're depicted. So that's another point for me.
Okay. You know what? You sold me
It's
on Persona 5 being on the list.
All right.
Now, where am I going to place it? I'm going to place it above
Japanese
Pepsi
Batman.
Man.
Oh, that's gonna piss Mitch off even more. Hell yeah, I'm all for that.
Spot 4. Did Mitch leave?
Yeah, he fucking walked off. Which
Oh, he's back.
Okay. Cozy.
Okay, so for my number 2 pick, I have another unconventional superhero game, as has been the trend for the past few entries, but mine is a little bit more, well, whatever. I'm just going to get out with it. My pick is Crisis 2. Okay, so the original Crisis was released on... Oh, hold on. So the original Crisis was released on the PCs in 2007. It became a huge meme because it was like, oh man, can your PC run Crisis? Well, it melted to the ground. The thing about the original Crisis, though, is gameplay-wise, it was a game that advertised your character as being this superheroic like character who had super strength, super speed, invisibility, etc. But in reality, the act of playing Crisis was a very challenging, very complex experience where you had to be making full use of your powers and really making sure that every single flashpoint with your enemies was handled appropriately. If you were just a second off in terms of your action timing, you would die instantly. And Crisis 2 basically took that and it's like, all right, let's make it so that your character is a little bit more souped up. So like your super strength ability actually gives you like legitimate, real good super strength. Your body armor actually makes you impervious to a lot more hits than before. And let's actually like make it a lot more of a superhero game. The somewhat like non-linear structure of the original Crisis was done away with for a more kind of linear collection of levels, which upset some more hardcore fans of the first game. But I think that it resulted in the design of Crisis 2's levels actually being way, way, way stronger. I know that a lot of people look at this game and they think, well, that's pretty definitively a shooter, not a superhero game. But when you take into account, again, all the buffed up superpowers that your character has, which, by the way, he obtains in a very Venom-like fashion, where basically the super suit that gives him these powers is sort of thrust onto him forcibly at the beginning of the game, and it's revealed to have these alien-like capabilities and an alien-like backstory that is sort of slowly infecting him. I think that overall it makes a very good candidate for a superhero game, despite not being what one might traditionally think of as a superhero game.
This is interesting. I haven't played Crisis, any of them.
There's a reason for that.
It's supposed to be quite good. I like the fact that you're in the powers, but it's not overtly superhero-ish either, as much as you're getting powers, even though you have superhero powers. I'm going to put it above Prototype at number 7.
Okay. See, I thought...
All right.
I don't want to like say anything further out of fear of provoking something unneeded, but like I'm fully expecting for there to be a Crisis 2 versus Prototype argument at some point tonight, because I feel like there's a lot of parallels, right?
The list and Kingdom Hearts didn't make the list.
You're like an anti-hero, you're fighting in New York City. That's something I didn't mention previously, is that you're in like New York City that's been taken over by this sort of crazy infection. But I won't speak any further because I don't want to incur something needless onto me.
Okay. All right. So we finish off the second round. So we are at 8 entries so far. We're going to reverse this order for the final round of picks. Cozy, you're up.
Oh, wait. Oh, okay. All right. So, I started this off by talking about Infamous First Light, which is like pretty definitively like a superhero game. Then I talked a little bit about Crisis 2, which is, it's a little bit more borderline, but I truthfully do believe it is a superhero game. Now, I want to talk about a little superhero game called Thomas Was Alone. So, in Thomas Was Alone, you play as a bunch of AIs represented by squares and rectangular prisms of various shapes. And one of these squares that you play as / AIs is a blue square by the name of Claire. Claire, very early on in the game, is thrust into a body of water, and upon being thrust into the body of water, as you can see on screen over there, she realized that she had superpowers. And basically, her whole arc of the game is her realizing, look, it says right here, she didn't need a cape. There was no getting around that. You couldn't be a superhero without a cape. Clape didn't want confusion. Claire realizes that her role in the bleak universe that she and the other AIs are living in is to be a superhero, to help save them from adversity and danger and lead them to the promised land. And so for that reason, it is a superhero game among superhero games. No doubt about it.
Took the liberty of adding this to the list in the appropriate spot for you.
Mitch, I don't believe that you can assign things to the list. I believe that's Nathan's responsibility, sir.
So where it's going. I was just helping him along.
I'm going to be really honest.
The score is appropriate.
I really love Thomas Was Alone. It made me get real emotional at times, which I never expected a game about blocks to somehow do. And I think it's what's his name who did it?
Mike Bithell.
Mike Bithell. Thank you, Mike Bithell. I think it's Mike Bithell's best game. I don't think it's a superhero game. Although I do appreciate your argument.
But at what point in Kingdom Hearts does Sora say, oh man, I'm a superhero. I'm going to be a superhero and I'm going to save my friends? At no point in the game does he say that.
No. Even if you don't put it on the list, game.
Even if you don't put it on the list, at least put it above Kingdom Hearts and give it a point of 0, not -1.
Okay, it can go above Kingdom Hearts and get a 0. That's fine. I will allow that. I will give you a gimme if you've got one more title you want to pick, because I gave Mitch a gimme.
Can I redeem my gimme after everybody else goes?
All right, that's fine. So you don't have to make 2 big ones in a row.
That would literally be him having to give 3 games. In 3 games.
So I will give you a second for the gimme.
Thomas Is Alone and fucking Crisis. Yeah. All right.
You brought Kingdom Hearts. You're no better than him.
That is more of a superhero title than half of this fucking list, and you know it.
Alex.
No, I don't know it. That's not true. Okay,
Alex.
I'm gonna pick an honest, because my 2 picks have been a little fast and loose with superhero terms. Okay. So I'm gonna go back a little bit and be a little bit more authentic in what a superhero game is. And you take one of the worst superhero movies, you make a game adaptation of it, and you make that game fucking awesome. It's X-Men Origins Wolverine. It was essentially a God of War clone. And it was awesome because that type of game fits Wolverine so well. You just get to fucking rip and tear people apart with Wolverine. Who cares about the story going on? Even though they did all the things that were disconnected from the movie were actually kind of really cool. Like when you go to the Sentinel, factory. Yeah, like that mission was awesome. There's some really cool. And this was a game made by Raven, who unfortunately has just been sidelined to be a Call of Duty support team, which
they've made some really good superhero games.
Yeah, like they were great. And so it was a real shame that like they've gotten sidelined, but like X-Men Origins Wolverine, I think, is one of their best games. Hugh Jackman actually played Wolverine in that too, which was definitely in his contract. You can tell he kind of doesn't care, but still, it's still nice to hear his voice. It's just a very fun game that was spawned from a really terrible movie. And, if you're going to add Wolverine to things, letting him be in an M-rated video game is awesome. And doing specifically the lunge move, was never not satisfying.
Okay, so X-Men Origins Wolverine, am I getting the title right?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember that. I actually played this, I think on PC, because I still thought PCs were cool back then, before I realized the proper way of the console. But yeah, no, it's 100% better than the movie that came out.
Not saying a lot.
Yeah. I'm going to put this at number 3.
Take it. That's better than I don't know.
Seeing this list, it's about where I expected it to fall, to be honest.
I'm just surprised. Never mind. I'll bring that up when I have to debate something later.
All right. You are a master debater. All right. AJ.
I just want to say, Private Jeebus, I see you in the chat, and that is absolutely what I was going to pick. I'm going to go with the PS2 and Xbox and PC version from the early 2000s. I think it came out in 2004, 2005, of The Punisher. The Punisher, being a vigilante, similar to a Batman, except the Punisher kills people, doesn't necessarily have the superpowers, but can fight alongside them in such a way that as they are just so skilled at what they do. The Punisher game is better than it had any right to be. It's loosely based off that that I think 2004 Thomas Jane Punisher movie, which was actually really good considering. And it even had John Travolta in it as the bad guy. Yeah, I know, right? That movie itself was really good, and the game had no right. It was at a time where movie-based games and even superhero games had no right to be good, and just in general they were not. This one stood well above the rest, and completely knocked it out of the park in terms of gameplay. You got to shoot dudes, blow them apart, and just go on this revenge quest as the Punisher is wont to do.
I'm watching some footage of this game now because I literally had no reference point to it. This looks fucking awesome. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like I'm watching the interrogation mechanic, and oh my god, it looks gruesome in like hilarious ways. I should see if I can find a way to play this.
Yeah, you should absolutely try.
This looks great.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those hidden gems that a lot of people forget about, for sure.
I don't know where to rank this. So I actually don't like the Punisher as a character.
No?
At all. If I had to, like, I put him at like
Daredevil is very good. I'm just
sorry.
say.
Yeah,
the John Bernthal version and the storyline they did in Daredevil season 2 was actually really well done.
He was all right. I still didn't want to watch the show that they did for him after that.
It was not.
I don't know what it is about Punisher, but I've never connected with the character just because I don't love the concept.
You're just such a nice guy. You're just such a nice guy.
Where am I going to put this? It can go above Pepsi Man.
Okay.
So we're going to give it number 6.
God damn. I don't know how you could put that on the star rating. That's a travesty.
So, well, that's where it is on the list, and it should be above Pepsi Man. So,
all right, well, you know what I'm arguing for in round 2.
Okay. So we're going to have that there. So, Mitch, you're up.
What makes a superhero game? Is it living out your superhero fantasies? Is it, teaming up with your squad of superhero allies and saving the day? Is it having a great supervillain? Is it having a great supervillain named Mitch? Does it feature Morgan Freeman? If all of that is true for you, then South Park, The Fractured Butthole, needs to be on this list. This is a wonderfully made game from the folks out at Ubisoft San Francisco, previously not known for making RPGs. They were known for the Rocksmith series. Yet they were able to do wonderful things to Ubisoft's proprietary engine to allow the artists behind South Park to import their assets directly, which was not possible in the precursor to this, The Stick of Truth. And they delivered a really fun, really enjoyable, really authentic superhero experience in the frame of South Park. And Morgan Freeman, butt jokes, mutated cats that spray on you.
Was it actually was it actually Morgan Freeman, or was it a
No,
okay, that's what I thought.
No, South Park. Morgan Freeman is a vendor in the game, and there's actually a nice Easter egg in there. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone.
Okay,
he runs the taco restaurant, I think, something like that.
Yeah, Taco Bonita or
something like that. And like, honestly, you as the character, your origin story that Cartman gives you is hilarious. The supervillain is actually named Mitch, which I figured all of you would appreciate because you like to shit on me every week.
It's because you're a fucking
and
villain.
That may or may not be true.
Got him.
It features a grim, very, very grim, very Batman-esque moment for your character, which I'm also not going to spoil, but it is by and far the best video game that's been brought up tonight, because half of these are fucking superhero video games.
So,
Fractured Butthole,
including Kingdom Hearts.
No,
So
that is a superhero game, and we're going to get to that in round 2. Trust me.
So we better not be. So the Fractured Butthole is a superhero game. There's no question about that. Your character is dressed up as superheroes. You're correct in his origin story being very sad and damaging and traumatic, as I've platinumed that game, as well as Morgan Freeman being your mentor, and the Easter egg you're talking about are also excellent. And it's got really fun superhero powers. So I'm going to put it at number 1.
Oh, yeah.
Damn, okay. You redeemed yourself after fucking Kingdom Hearts.
At least I didn't have a game totally fall off the list.
Oh, what?
You had a game that didn't even reach the list.
Well, I meant because Cozy right now is missing his 3rd entry from the list, and we're about to see what craziness he brings to us, aren't we?
We are.
So Cozy, you're up. Mitch has already segued into it. So
Okay,
let's get the final game of round 1.
Okay, I'll keep this short and sweet. All right, so I looked long and hard to see what superhero or superhero-like games I've played in the past I could bring to the list, and I feel I've got this is a deep pull, but I feel confident in it. Mad World, one of the first games that Platinum Games made. The thing about this game is, upon being reminded of it, I was struck by just how many tones I could feel of prior black and white comic book works like Sin City, and I feel like this game, in its over the top, overly gruesome way, I feel definitely evokes shades of that. You play as a bad and dirty superhero by the name of Jack, who, with his chainsaw arm, has to wreck shop within the city and save it from its bizarre, admittedly overly complicated virus death plot. Let me tell you, man, if you've not played Mad World yet, go and give it a shot. This game is quintessential Wii weirdness in all ways, good and bad. And while the character of Jack may not be super heroic in the sense that he's a straight A hero, I think that it perfectly epitomizes the weirdness and goofiness that the superhero genre has to offer, if you should accept it as such.
Do they play the song Mad World in the game?
There is, in fact, a song called Mad World in the game. It's like a rap track. There's the entire... Sorry?
I wanted like
specifically Mad World.
Yeah.
The one from the Gears commercial.
Yeah.
Okay. So no, they don't have Mad World from the Gears commercial, but there is a song called Mad World in the game. It's just a different song.
Okay. This is on my shelf and my Wii's hooked up in my kid's playroom. I should try it. I've never tried this game.
It's like 6 hours long, so it's not that long. So if you don't
to hear it,
I also have to play it in standard definition.
Yeah, I also have to play it up in the playroom, which doesn't sound ideal.
You also have to play your Wii.
Yeah,
dude, those controllers must be scuzzy.
All right, guys. Don't make fun of the Wii too much now.
All right. I don't know where to put this. I don't want Power Rangers to fall off the list, but
Well, it won't.
I don't feel like it should be that high. Oh, it's the newest Sacrifices installed on my computer.
It's a good game.
Wow, this is getting hard now.
We brought some games to this list for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to put it above Pepsi Man.
Okay.
Rest in peace, Pepsi Man. I mean, it didn't fall off the list or anything. It just...
Yeah, neither did Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which is okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. So that's the end of round one.
This is sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but this is actually a pretty good list. All jokes aside, like I think there's actually some really good, like besides like there obviously are like the sort of wild card ones, but even the wild card ones, all the ones that are on the list that have points and stuff that are actually on the list are good wild card picks, I would say. Good job, everybody. I just wanted to say
give it a second.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get into the second phase, which is the rebuttal. This time,
Before we do that, I just
yep.
want to say, before we do that, do we want to read off what is currently?
Oh, that's a good call.
Yeah.
Yep. So number 1 is South Park: The Fractured Butthole. Number 2 is Saints Row 4. Number 3 is Infamous First Light. Number 4 is X-Men Origins Wolverine, the movie, the game. Teen Titans is number 5. Number 6 is Persona 5. Number 7 is The Punisher. Number 8 is Mad World. Number 9 is Pepsi Man. Number 10 is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, the game. And then we've got Crysis 2 and Prototype in the 11 and 12 slots. So, all right.
Nathan, I have a question for you for round 2, just the logistics of it.
Yep.
How do you want to run it? Do you want it to be the game takes the spot and pushes everything down, or they flip positions?
I think I was going to do flip positions.
Thank you. Now I know how to run. Now I know how to run the board.
That's how I was going to do it.
I like it when it's that option because that gets spicy and people get angry.
Yeah, it's funner that way. Because it's not just this like moving a spot. They're moving. There's a lot of movement in the list.
Serious things can actually, like, the scores can actually really change because of it.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go. I'm just gonna change the order up from everything we've been doing. Alex, you're up first.
Ooh, okay. So I am definitely going to be arguing for Prototype. Let me just take a quick glance at the list and see. Oh, but could get Persona higher. I'll do Prototype because it doesn't have points. Prototype I will go against the Teen Titans game. One, the Teen Titans game is just a flash game. Like there clearly is not that much substance to it. Like, yes, it's a fun like novelty of like, oh, I get to play like the show, but I don't know. It just doesn't. From looking at it, it looks like a very standard flash game. That's not my entire argument, but that is just a thing. I think Prototype is just. It's a good AA game that is fun, and that is pure, just unadulterated fun to just run around the city at Mach 10. It did what Saints Row 4 did, but did it first. In some ways, I think it did it better because I think the powers were a lot more interesting in Prototype because they were like these mutating like claws and mutating swords, and like you got like Hulk fists. So it gives you a really wide range of powers to be able to play with. And I think that just from what it did, like when it came out in 2008, it was either 2008 or 2009.
Yeah,
it was just a really unadulterated fun, and I think that needs to be represented on the list. Where I didn't know this Teen Titans game existed until AJ brought it up.
All right, AJ, what's your rebuttal?
Well, you didn't know it existed because you were probably like 3 when it was first came out, and
yeah, but I'm also consciously aware of things that came out before and while I was growing up,
you pretentious film student, you. Yeah, Teen Titans is just a flash game, but it is something that stands up on its own in a way that exceeds the platform it was put onto. In many ways, it's almost like a precursor for the Injustice series in proving that these superheroes could be a fun fighting game if you really, really think about it. Now, Prototype came out to a lot of like negative criticism when that came out. Teen Titans Battle Blitz is like the one flash game that when people think of like classic flash games that they remember playing as kids about shows that they grew up on, there's that, and then there's the Samurai Jack flash game. Teen Titans Battle Blitz is such a good fighting game, and it is way better than it has any right to be on the platform it's on.
Yeah, I am going to agree with AJ. Nothing switches.
But can you eat people?
I guess if you're Beast Boy and you were something that eats people.
Yeah, and I think you could also play as the villains too, and there was that clay villain who would like gobble people up.
Yeah, so that might be possible. Okay, no problems. Cozy, you're up next.
Okay, so originally I wanted to argue for Crisis 2 over one of the other games on the list, but considering that Infamous First Light has fallen a few spots, I feel like I have to argue for it. Specifically, I have to argue for it over South Park: The Fractured But Whole. South Park: The Fractured But Whole featured its, protagonists, quote unquote, dressing up as superheroes and going around and trying to, quote unquote, help things. But how much did they actually help things? How much collateral damage did they in fact actually cause? In contrast with Infamous First Light, you get the sense that yes, Fetch is a character that is struggling. She's struggling with addictions. She's struggling with trying to keep her limited family together. But you really do believe in her. You really do believe that she is trying to do good. And ultimately, by the end of the game, while unfortunately she fails in certain regards, you can feel within her that her heart is resolute and that she's grown from the experience, and that going forward, she is going to make the right decisions after meeting the right people.
Where do we put this?
No, I get to rebuke, don't I?
Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry, Mitch, you get to rebuke. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So in The Fractured But Whole, the heroes of the story are, yes, they're dressing up in costumes and going about their usual business, but isn't that most superheroes, to be honest? They're just dressing up, going out, trying to do good. The protagonist of the game, the hero that you play, is ultimately trying to do good. It is the villain who, rightfully so, is the one at the center of causing all the chaos. Spoiler alert, it is Cartman's hand. So hand puppet is villain, which is great. Ultimately, they're trying to do good just in the same way that Fetch is trying to do good throughout her journey. So I don't see any reason why the layers of depth that are added to the experience of The Fractured But Whole through the storytelling elements that Trey Stone and Matt Parker do add into the title in any way makes it less deserving of the number one spot on this list.
Yeah. I like both these games. I platinum both of them.
They're both in really good spots right now.
I know
honestly.
they're both in really good spots.
They're both in the top three. They're both deserving of being up there. One of the top three is not.
You know what, Cozy? I'm going to agree with you.
What?
Ooh.
That's dumb.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think we should make that switch.
And spicy. And now I'm above Mitch, and so you know what? I'm okay with this change. That's all that matters to me.
Okay. AJ.
Never mind. That was not above Mitch.
Well, I was going to try and argue Saints Row against South Park if that didn't work, but I don't think I need to do that anymore. I think, though, Saints Row is still overall a better game than Infamous First Light. It had a lot going for it, and a legacy to kind of live up to, and the Saints Row 4 series as a whole evolved so much. Like what they did with Saints Row 4 is they took a game, the third game, which was already in a lot of aspects perfect, and then they took it to its natural conclusion and just let you run wild with it. No restrictions. Do whatever the hell you want. You are a superhero. You are the president of the United States. Save the world. Do it. Infamous is still, in many ways, limited by its own construction in that it's very limited in its powers. It's very limited in what it does with those is good, but it's still limited. Saints Row is just open-ended, fun. Go fuck everything up. Have a great time doing it. Enjoy the ride.
My only rebuttal is that I'd rather have an experience that is more limited in what it sets out to do, but is more polished, than an experience that tries to do too many things, but is not super polished.
I'm going to agree with Cozy, and we're going to keep the list as it is. No change.
Alrighty.
Fair enough.
All right. Mitch.
What makes a superhero?
Batman
A
or
superhero is one gifted with extraordinary abilities and chooses to use those abilities for the greater good of the populace which they are serving and protecting. Saints Row 4 features murder. It features dildo bats. It features you using your abilities not necessarily in the best interest of everybody involved. You are murdering people. Superheroes don't do that. Anti-heroes may do that, but superheroes do not. Which is why the superheroes featured in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, the game, are more emblematic of what it means to be a superhero than those in Saints Row 4.
This is a big swing.
Hell yeah, it is.
AJ.
Bring it, AJ.
Yeah. Well, many superhero stories, you have superheroes dealing with their own humanity. In that, especially when you have, superheroes like Batman or anybody else, really, they got to figure out whether or not they're going to kill people or not. Saints Row 4, you're in Saints Row 4, the bad guys are aliens, if you actually know the story of the game, and those are who you're killing. The aliens are there to kill you and enslave you. They deserve to die.
But the core of most superheroes is struggling with the dilemma of do we save or do we kill? Batman,
And Superman killed Zod.
yeah, and
Because
lived
he
with that
had
moral
to,
decision
because he
for
was
a
going-
very long time.
Because he was
made for
going
very
to
bad
have
movies.
to. He was had no choice because Zod was going to.
Let's not bring up Man of Steel in this show.
Oh, it's such a good
Please.
movie. I love that movie.
Batman struggles with the morality of whether to save or kill those who he's trying to stop. Ultimately sides on the side of saving. In alternate histories where Batman does kill, he is not seen as a hero by most. He's seen as an anti-hero at best and a villain at worst. Those who serve the greater good and try to protect as opposed to murdering are the ones seen as superheroes, not those characters.
Well, you've also got the argument then that Spider-Man is also technically not a hero because he is a menace. J. Jonah Jameson said so himself. Trust them.
That is the press.
Media.
We know what mainstream media does to taint the image of those who are fighting for true freedom. AJ, you and I both know this. That is why Spider-Man is a true superhero. That is why the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers are true superheroes, and why Saints Row 4 is escapist BS that is not a true superhero experience.
Mitch. I wish you hadn't shot as high.
No, you know I'm right.
I can't.
You know I'm right.
Look, here's the deal. I love the Power Rangers. I don't think that game deserves to be second on the list.
Yes, it does. Well, there's still a third round.
But the
It's
third
only
round's
second for
what
now.
I'm inserting.
We are running out of time.
Yeah, we're running out of time
Do
here.
it.
No, list
Do
stays
it.
as it
Do it.
stands.
Nah, one of these days I'm just going to make it so that I officially start streaming at 10:30 and not 10. It's all right.
That might be a good.
All right, Cozy.
Okay, we're going to keep the last round really quick. I've got 7 games that I have listed here that I put on my short list of some of my favorite superhero games. Maybe they're not all great superhero games, but they're games I've played and I think are important that people play. So I'm going to let everybody pick a number and you'll get to argue for one of these. So
She just
Alex,
about fell
you're
out of your
first.
chair.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'll choose. How many numbers can I choose? Or I mean,
1 through
what's the-
7.
1 through 7. I'll choose 6.
You'll choose 6. So you get to argue for Green Lantern: Rise of the Manhunters.
Is that the one that came out on the 360 and PS3?
Yes.
Based on the Ryan Reynolds movie.
Yes, which is an excellent movie. Let's not hate. I've worn 3 Green Lantern hats tonight so far. I love Green Lantern, and that's a good movie. I don't care what anybody says.
It's not a good movie.
It's a great movie. Anyways, Alex.
I literally have nothing to say about this. I don't care if it doesn't make the list or not. I can't even mental gymnastics my way through this bullshit. It's a game you beat people up at some point. You can have fun with it, I'm pretty sure. That's my argument.
Wow, I wish you'd done a better job. This is actually a great God of War-esque fighting game, like combat game.
It's a beat 'em up at best.
It's a beat 'em up that feels like God of War, and you feel like Kratos.
Is there co-op in it?
I don't think so.
There might have been on the Wii.
Maybe I'm thinking about a different thing.
It definitely was on the Wii, but
it also doesn't matter because it's not a good game.
I literally have nothing.
So we're gonna put it because of Alex's rising thing for it at number 1.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
I was gonna say, I was like, wow, is it that easy?
No, but
easy?
It should go on the list.
It did. I got it in there. Don't worry.
Fine. It should be higher.
13.
No, it shouldn't.
All right. So now, AJ.
I'm going to choose number 2.
Number 2. So you get to talk about Injustice: Gods Among Us.
Wow.
Bullshit is this?
Wow.
He gets a good game.
Holy crap. Injustice is like after Teen Titans kind of like laid the groundwork for like, hey, listen, if superheroes can be in a fighting game, Injustice comes around and is just like better than it even had any right to be, in the sense that it made a level playing field for other superheroes like Superman to fight banned superheroes on this list like Batman, and just oh my god, like the story, well, it's been a while since I've actually played through that, but I remember the story actually being somewhat engaging in that way that the Mortal Kombat series is, where it's just like, hey, here's a quick 2-minute bit of story, and then you're fighting again. It doesn't waste your time. It's overall just a really good representation of superheroes fighting one-on-one.
All right, that's a good argument. And yeah, this is going to be number 1. We're moving this game up to number 1.
Are you kidding me? Really?
Support it.
Yeah, this game's moving up to number 1.
I know we're running out of time.
We specifically created a list to talk about non-Batman or Spider-Man games, and the one that went to number 1 was a game that prominently features Batman.
It's a Justice League game.
I get it. I get it.
He's the main protagonist.
Title. Okay, Cozy, you're up next.
Okay, what are the numbers I have to choose between again?
1 through 7, and 2 and 6 have been selected.
All right, 3.
3. So you get to argue for a classic Sega Genesis game, Boogerman: The Pick and Flick Adventure.
I mean, what can't you love about Boogerman: The Pick and Flick Adventure? As we all know, this is hold on. As we all know, this is a classic Sega Genesis platforming game.
Is it a platformer? Let's just move on, please. We're running long. I'm sorry.
Hold on. I need to get out 2 points. 1, this game is beloved by Nathan, and we all know that Nathan has great taste in games. And 2, you're an idiot for not loving this game as well.
What argument? Physically exhausted after that.
Why?
I bit my tongue twice in a row there, by the way. If you look very close, you can see me biting my tongue twice in a row there. I tried real hard to maintain a straight face.
I wish we had an instant replay feature.
Real hard to make sure that Nathan knew just how much his opinion on Boogerman: A Pick and Flick Adventure is valued here. Real hard. All right.
So apparently nobody likes Boogerman: The Pick and Flick Adventure. It got 2 thumbs up, way up.
You love that game. I believe in you so that I can believe in myself.
So, Mitch, you're up.
What else you can believe in? The
Hold
fact
on,
that your
where
heart
does
is
it
the
go on the
guiding
list?
key.
Oh,
It's at 15.
Wait, where'd the list
Is it
go?
better than Pepsi Man?
No.
Yeah, put it above Pepsi Man.
No.
Yeah, put it above Pepsi Man. Do it. All right, Mitch. You get the options of 1, 4, 5, and 7.
Can I pick whatever number Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is?
It's not on the list. I
Are
did
you
not
kidding
include that
me?
one. Nope.
7.
DC Universe Online.
It brought MMOs to the mainstream. It featured a number of superheroes. You got to be your own hero, live out your own hero fantasy, which is what all of us go to superhero games for. It went free to play at one point, which made for a much more accessible experience. It changed the way MMOs are made and played. It laid the groundwork for what we're getting this week in Marvel's Avengers. That game would not exist without DC Universe Online and Marvel Heroes being as successful as they were. Marvel Heroes, of course, being killed, but DC Universe Online still alive and kicking today. And it's got great storylines, great gear management, great DLC. It's a
City
great
of Heroes
DC game.
and City of Villains was better.
The voice actors, like Kevin Conroy, plays Batman in it.
Again, you get to be your own superhero and live out your superhero fantasy in worlds featuring Batman, Superman, Green
I wasn't saying
Lantern.
that as a thing.
Oh, no. I mean, everyone.
That
You get to become a Green Lantern in this game. Who doesn't want to see themselves embodying what a
Apparently
Green Lantern
Alex.
can be in Brightest Day and Blackest Night?
No, I just
evil
want to play
shall escape
Green
my
Lantern
sight.
game.
Okay, yeah, no, this should be on the list 100%. We're going to put it above X-Men Origins Wolverine.
We're supposed to say Saints Row 4, but whatever.
I mean, you get
Just-
the same amount of points anyway.
Yeah,
So
I
you
know.
guys
Saints Row 4 shouldn't be in the top 3.
So you guys are if you guys are curious, just to give you guys an FYI, the games that you did not pick were Superman 64,
Thank fucking God.
Lego Marvel Superheroes,
That's a good one.
Fantastic game. It was on my list.
and the Death and Return of Superman for the Super Nintendo.
Okay, so I picked the only
Superman
one on that list
Returns.
worth arguing. Or actually, Lego was good too, but
Yeah, I was kind of hoping you pick Lego, but that was a good pick as well.
I was ready to argue for Lego. This was not one I was ready to argue for, but I still pulled it out of my ass.
All right, so I don't think that changed much. We have a clear winner of this game by a significant margin. It looks like AJ's pulled in 7 points. So congratulations,
All right.
AJ. You are the winner.
I did it. Do you want to
we're
read the list real
Yeah,
quick before we sign off?
We're going to recap the top 10. So Injustice, the number 1 spot, AJ's game. Infamous First Light, number 2, which is Cozy's game. Saints Row 4, which is AJ's game. South Park, The Fractured But Whole, which is Mitch's game. DC Universe Online, which is also Mitch's game. X-Men Origins Wolverine, Alex's game. Teen Titans Battle Blitz, which is AJ's game. Persona 5, which is Alex's game. The Punisher, which is AJ's game. And Mad World, which is Cozy's game.
While I don't quite agree with how quickly Injustice climbed to the top of this list, I do want to give AJ credit for choosing a entire stacked deck of like legit superhero games.
For once, I actually knew something that was going on here.
So I think this is a really fun episode. I think we've got a really strong list here. It'd be stronger if somebody made a better Green Lantern argument.
A great Power Rangers argument that you dismissed.
I'm putting Green Lantern at number 1. It's done.
But it can be number 1, but it's under your name, not mine.
It's at number 0. Secret number 0 slot.
Sure, the secret number 0 slot, because that's a great game. You know what? If you haven't played that Green Lantern game, go out and play it. I've got a copy of it. You can borrow it. It's really good.
Yeah.
So
that just put Nathan into second place, just so you know. The host finished second.
Wow.
Should I take? No, I'm not going to declare myself the winner. I toyed with that. I'm not going to do that. I'll save that for another show.
Coward.
Anyways, we should wrap up the show because we're running long. No questions about that. So thank you everybody for tuning in. We're going to go through and plug socials quickly.
Do we want to plug this weekend and next week?
Oh, yes. So we've got this. Yeah. So this weekend, we are streaming live from Mitch's apartment as we build a PC. Mitch builds a PC with the assistance of Nathan and Alex. So it should be an excellent, fun stream. I'm looking forward to this a lot. I think Alex is as well. So please tune in. And then next week, we're going to have an Avengers specific review episode. So I am not going to be participating. AJ, are you going to be on it?
I don't think so.
No.
Maybe. Well, I'll let you know.
That's from the chat. We know.
We'll talk.
So we're trying to figure out who's going to be on it. I'm not playing Avengers, so I'm going to step back. We will have some special guests. We have not confirmed that yet. So we'll hold off on announcing that. Keep an eye on our Twitter. If you haven't followed our Twitter, now this is a perfect chance to, because we will put it on Twitter once we have finalized things. Yep. So that being said, maybe it's time we talk about Twitter. Follow us at Press YYZ on Twitter. Mitch, what's your Twitter? Or what's your socials?
You can find me everywhere at Mr. Mitch George, Twitter, Instagram, GG. Yeah. This list is a travesty.
Perfect. Cozy?
You can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/AlexKazina, and also on Twitch on twitch.tv/CozyBearLive. I technically start my streams at 10 p.m. on Wednesdays, but I'm probably going to have to shift it over to 10:30 at this point. Again, no big deal. I think that this is just naturally the way that this podcast has progressed, and I have to change up my other streaming thing to accommodate that.
You might be able to start a little earlier.
Alex?
Twitter, blatantly_Alex. Instagram, blatantly Alex. YouTube.com/blatantly Alex. Follow me for my egotistic photos of myself.
AJ?
You can find me all over the internet, Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff, at TimesHero, capital T, capital H.
All right, perfect. And you can follow me at _NMAC on Twitter, and you can catch my reviews at ps4blog.net. If you want to check out my reviews, please go read my review for Manifold Garden. I think it's a great review, and it's a great good game, so you should play it. So thanks for playing.